Hey y'all, how's it going? Happy returns. I know it's a little bit dark in here right now. I had to shut off one of the lights because I needed the cord. Anyway, welcome back to Creating Hanley. I am the Hanley at Creating Hanley, and we are in part 2 of the Entwined Star for our So a Year Full of Star Quilt Along, Quilt As You Go star block of the month, and this is April 2023. If you're watching this in the far future, it doesn't matter. You can follow along because I am sewing with you right now. So anyway, okay, so in part 1 we chose our fabric and we cut our fabric to size. So we have what we have here is the Entwined Star, and these are the measurements. Yeah, is that what you did? Okay, so that, if you didn't catch that, follow part number 1. Okay, so now we have our 2.5 inch squares. We have 6 2.5 inch squares of color A. We have 6 2.5 inch squares of color B, and our 5 inch block, right? Our 4.5 inch block. And then we have color Z or 3 or whatever you're calling this. And this is 5.5 inch. And then we have our background, which I chose black for my background to allow these pastels to pop a little bit more. And we have 5 4.5 inch blocks. Where's the white? There we go, the white wall. We have 5 4.5 inch blocks, and we have only one of the 5.25 inch background. Okay. Now we're going to cut these up and sew them back together, and then we're actually creating a 9 patch, and then we're going to sew the 9 patch together, and that will be our star flimsy top, and then we can create the quilt sandwich. And you guys already know how to create the quilt sandwich. You get your favorite batting, and you get your backing, and you sandwich them together, and you throw some thread on the top, and that's how you quilt. In a nutshell. Alright, so let me take you down to the cutting surface. Here we go. Alright, so now we're down at the cutting surface. Let me move that camera back a little bit so hopefully it doesn't fall off the table. Anyway, alright, so now we're going to take our background. So my background is black. Your background is whatever color you chose. So I'm putting these other colors off to the side. Now here's my background. This is the 5.25 inch, and this is the 4.5 inch blocks. So I don't need these right now. I'm going to take so I'll just set that all aside. So I'm going to take my 5.25 inch background fabric square. You only have one of these. Now I'm going to make 4 triangles. So I'm going to I'm going to bisect on corner to corner. Okay? So I'm not drawing any lines. I'm just lining this up corner to corner, my straight edge. Now, when you're doing this, I hope you can see my straight edge is a little bit off center. And you can, right here, no, right here you can see my straight edge is a little off center. And that is to accommodate the width of the blade. Okay, now you can see that. It accommodates the width of the blade. Now you don't have to get super precise, but I know that my blade adds dimension. My blade has so I'm locking this now so I don't cut myself. But the blade has width to it, and that can throw your cut off. So if you want to be absolutely perfect, I'm not absolutely perfect, but if you want to be absolutely perfect in your cuts, you definitely want to allow for the width of your blade. Okay, now I'm not drawing lines, I'm just cutting. So, if you want to be precise, you draw your line first and make sure it is corner to corner, and then you cut your lines. Okay? Now, I'm not moving the fabric. I leave the fabric, and then I just change the direction of my straight edge. Now, if you have one of those trolley mats, use your cutting mat. Use your rotating cutting mat. And again, you can see hopefully in the camera, you can see I'm a little bit off on my straight edge on this side and this side. And it doesn't have to be a lot, just a teeny tiny bit, so that when I put my blade right on here and I can look at it, if I want to be sure, I can see, yep, that is going to line up from this edge to this edge. And so then I'm absolutely sure, and I make my cut. And then I know that corner is bisected, that corner is bisected, this corner, and this corner. So you can see. Now I have 4 triangles on this 5.5 inch. Now I'm going to take my Z fabric, or the only fabric that you cut the other 5.5 inch square. There's only one other fabric that you cut a 5.5 inch square. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to bisect that fabric corner to corner and corner to corner. Okay? So line up your straight edge the exact same way I just taught you. And if you want to draw your line, you can. Otherwise, just cutting it saves a step. And then you go to the other side. Corner to corner. Not flat edge to flat edge. Corner to corner. You are creating triangles. And boop, there you go. Triangles created. So now I have 4 triangles here, and I have 4 triangles in my background. Fantastic. Set those aside. Okay. Now, you're going to take your background. One of the 5 that you cut of the 4.5 inch background fabric, you're going to take one of these. And then you're going to take 2, it doesn't matter which ones, but you need 2 of your 2.5 inch squares. So just pick a color. Obviously, first ones would be good, so like number 1s or A's or however you numbered them, do that. Now, right sides together. So you flip it over, and you're going to line up. So just like, so this is snowballing. You're just snowballing these corners, okay, folks? So we've done snowballing before. Or even if you think of it as flying geese. So you want to line up these sides perfectly. Now, if you want to draw a line from here to here, now is a good time to do that. So you get your straight edge, and again, off of the corners just slightly. Find your pencil. Line it up. Draw corner to corner. And this is where your cut line, or your sew line is going to be. And then you're just going to sew a little bit off of that line. Because, like I said in another video, I already explained this to you guys in another video. You want to keep your stitch a little bit on the outside. And that allows turn of fabric. I believe that is the term. It is called turn of fabric. So that when you fold this over, that creates that corner. Okay? So you are taking away the black and adding the color. And that's all we're doing, is we're taking away the black corner and we're adding this color corner. And we're going to do that on all 4 corners. Okay? So you want this here and this one here. So same color, opposite. Okay? So draw your line. And then you sew just on the outside of that. I'm sorry. Just on the inside of that. Just on the inside of that. Okay? So, I got to take you over to the machine now. Take you over to the machine. Don't get dizzy. Alright, I'm going to plug in the, so it might get a little bit scratchy, but I'm going to plug in the light so it's a little bit easier for you to see. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. Take this over. Now, you already have your thread in. Yes, you have your coordinating thread in the bobbin and in the you know, in the thread part, right? Now you just sew off that line just a little teeny tiny bit. And go for it. Okay. And then do the other side. So again, line up these edges. Make sure these are spot on, because all you're doing is replacing the black part of this corner with a color. That's all you're doing. All right. So that when you open this up, you have now retained the integrity of the square. Yep, you can see that. I have now retained the integrity of the square, and I do this to this corner too. Retain the integrity of that square. Okay? Now, because I do, you know what? I'm going to make this a little bit better. Just a little bit better. Now, because I do, what's it called? Blocks. Crumb blocks. Oh my gosh, guys, I had a brain malfunction there for half a second. Because I make crumb blocks, I'm going to sew another stitch line down here to preserve this triangle. So this is not necessary for this project, but I'm just preserving this triangle, so I'm making a half square triangle for a completely different project. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Completely different project. Do I have to do that? Absolutely not. Now, you just want to cut down the center. Or, if you did not do this part, you just cut a 1/4 inch away from this seam. And then when you open it up, you can finger press it open. That has retained the integrity of that square. Same thing on the opposite side. You have retained the integrity of that square. Now, if you wish, you can take it over to your press station and press that down. Now, you've just retained the integrity of that square, and you have replaced the black edges or the black corners with your opposite color, with a different color, I should say. Now, we're going to do the same thing to these two corners, and you're going to take 2 other colors. So, color B, or whatever color you choose. And then you're going to do the same thing here. Now that is going to overlap these two, and that is fine. That is what you want. Okay? All right. So if you would rather, you can draw your line separate of the block. So you can just take your little 2.5 inch square and draw your line down the diagonal separate of the block or of the other square. And then when you have your diagonal, make sure it's in the correct position. So you can pretend that it's sewn, fold on that line, and now you know it is in the right place. Just like that. Because if you had it this way, oops, and then you folded on that line and then you were sewing on that line, that would be incorrect, right? So make sure the sides are lined up and you're just replacing that the background. Okay? Both sides. All right, here we go. And again, you sew off that line just a teeny tiny bit. And again, this second step is unnecessary, but I'm doing it just because I create blocks, crumb blocks. That's really too small of a piece to put in any major project, but it's perfect for a crumb block. Okay. Sew down that line. And again, now here's for my crumb block. Perfect. Now I cut my thread. And then I can cut these little corners off. And this is what your fabric looks like. And then when you open it up, it looks like this. So take it over to your pressing mat or your pressing station or whatever, your iron, your hot iron, whatever you call it. And then so you want to press the seams to the outside. You want to press your seams to the outside. So all my seams are pressed to the outside. Now I have just retained the integrity of this block, but I have replaced all four corners with different colors. Okay, so they should be opposite. All right, this is going to be your center block. In our 9 patch, this is our center. So, if these are not exactly even, which mine are a little bit wonky right here, then you can square that up. If you desire, you can square that up, and you probably should. So I may later, but I'm not going to right at this moment because most likely all my squares are going to be a little bit wonky. But anyway, that's your center square, and you've pressed that so all the seams are pressed to the outside. So great, you made that. Now set that aside. Okay, now step 2 is you want to take your remaining 4 background. So now you have 4 remaining background squares. Okay? So you take your 4 remaining background squares. I'm going to push this camera back a little bit so you can see a little bit better. Your 4 remaining background squares. And then you take 2 2-inch squares and you place them on a corner. And then you place it on a corner face down. So pretty sides down. And again, 2 more opposite colors. So now I have blue or your second or whatever. I don't know how you named it. Okay? However you named it. So 2 of one color and then 2 of another color. 2.5-inch squares. And then put those pretty sides down. So right sides together. Pretty side and pretty side together. Okay? So pretty side up here, pretty side down here. And then you're going to just sew on the corners. Okay? So here we go. Now, if you have your seam tape, you don't have to create a line. If you've been sewing for a long time, you're really good at this already. You do not have to draw a line. But if you desire, you can... Oh my gosh, guys, my cat just brought me a toy. You can draw your line, and then you can sew on that line. Oops. That got a little wonky. Oh my gosh, you guys, my cat just brought me a toy. Let me take just a half a second to show you what toy she brought me. This is her most favorite toy ever. This is her toy. This is like a shawl. I'm sorry, I have to show you this. This is like this. This is what this is. This is her favorite toy. I just gave this to her. This is a long story. I never bought this. This is not mine. But now it's my cat's. So, it goes like this. It's like a shawl or a stole or something. She absolutely loves it. I gave it to her. She drags this upstairs from downstairs. This thing is like twice as long as she is. She drags it. She loves it. I'm sorry, guys. I had to show you that. Anyway. Okay. Back to sewing. Alright. So, let's just take this over to the machine. And we're just going to sew these lines. Again, sew just slightly off of the line. And you can chain piece. You don't have to break your thread. You can chain piece. Okay? I think it is helping me to have a line there, so I'm going to draw a line on here. I know it's wasting time on the video. I should have probably done this first. Wow. Yeah, here we go. But we are quilting along, right? Well, this is called a quilt along because we're quilting along together. So this is what you do. You quilt along together. Okay. All right, last one right here. Fantastic. Now you can cut your thread right here. And then you can cut these all apart, however method you decide to use for that. There's a couple different ways. Anyway, there you go. All right, I'm going to cut this little thread off. Okay, now, again, what we have done is replace the corner of the black with a color. Okay, so cut these off. And you know what? This time, I'm not going to cut. I'm not going to sew. I'm just going to cut. How about that? Yeah. Just make it a little bit quicker for the video. Because this, I can always sew if I really want to. I can sew that and then have another, or it's just separate for the crumb block. Okay, so whatever floats your boat, guys. Whatever works. And then you open this up, and then you have a square that looks like this. And again, you can take this to your press mat and press it open. I don't know why I call this a press mat. It's an ironing board and an iron. So you have just replaced that corner. So you're going to have 2 of this color, and then you're going to have 2 of the other color. Okay? I'm just using scissors. You can use your rotary cutter, whatever works best for you. Just doing this right here on film at this moment. My cat is really saying it's time to go to bed, Mom. Yeah. Or she's saying it's time to play. Or she's saying I'm hungry. But I just gave her snacks. Anyway, so there we go. So we have replaced. So this is what it looks like now, right? You have these 2 colors and these 2 colors. You've replaced that. All right. So that was step number 2. Okay. So you did step 1, you did step 2. Now we set these aside. Okay. Now, with the triangles that you've done, let's grab the triangles now. So, now you have, let me push this camera back a little bit, adjust that. Now you have, how was this? This was like this, yeah? Okay, so that was that block, and then this was this block. So, what we're going to do now is break these apart, and we are going to sew these together. However, we're not going to sew them this way to this way. We're going to sew them what I call sailboat style. I've never heard anybody say sailboat style, but I like to say sailboat style because we're going to take these long edges to the outside. So see how I did that? So if you put these together like this, the long edge is in the center. Turn that long edge out. And now you have, let me get this out of the way. Now you have what I call a sailboat style. So if I turn this around to face you in the video, that's what it looks like. Doesn't that look like a sailboat flag or a sailboat sail to you? It does to me. Anyway, it does to me. So what we're doing is short edges in the center and the long edges or the biased edges. So you want to be careful, okay? So these can be the stretchy edges, so you don't want to stretch these edges, but you're just putting the short edges to the center, and then the long edges on the outside, and then the long edges meet at the top. And that's the point. And you're going to do that for all 4 of these, okay? So put your background to the left. Just put your background to the left. And do that for all 4 of these. Background to the left. As such. Background to the left. Just like that. Okay? So it kind of looks like flying geese here, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Alright, so let's take this over to the needle here. And make sure everything aligns, and then you're sewing on that flat edge. Now, I'm putting a point here. I probably don't want to do that, so I'm going to flip over and put a flat edge there. Now, you might notice that one triangle is a little bit bigger than the other. So, if that is the case, make sure your sewing line is lined up perfectly. And you can use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you can also chain piece. So, if you're chain piecing, you don't need to break the thread. Uh-oh, that's going to be a little bit wonky. That right there did not turn out the way I wanted it to, so that might be a little bit weird. Hopefully it won't be so bad in the trimming. We'll see how it goes. But again, that's not your quilt, that's mine, so... Alright, so make sure that everything is the way... Uh-oh, this one got turned around. Here we go. Make sure everything is the way that you want it before you sew it. And if you have to seam rip, then that's what you do. You seam rip. Stop the video, pause it, seam rip, take everything out, and start all over again. You've seen me do that many a time on video. Now, excuse me, now you can cut the thread. Okay. And then when you open it up, there's your sailboat. Okay, so press open. Press your seams to one side, or you can open them to the center. It's up to you, whatever you like. Okay, so now they look like that. Alright, now our units are starting to come together, folks. So we have that. Now, we have these pieces left. So we're going to set these aside. We're going to use these pretty soon, but we're just going to set these aside. Okay, now we have these left. Now what you want to do is you want to cut. Now we didn't finish our cutting yet, but we're going to bisect from one corner to the other so that we have triangle. One corner to the other so that we have a triangle. Okay, so take that back to your cutting mat, and we're going to cut here to here. So, I'm not going to move the camera a whole lot. I'm just going to kind of swing it around. I'll bring this up a little bit so you guys can see. But you're just taking one corner to the other. And I already showed you how to do that. So cut that in and bisect it like that. Okay? So we're running out of color, so it's just the 2 big squares now that you do that for. Oops. Okay? happened? Oh, you guys, I need a new blade in my rotary cutter. It's not cutting so well. All right, there we go. Now that we have these cut here like this, we're going to switch this around. So we're going to take this A fabric onto B. So the A squares onto the B right at the corner, just like so. Pretty sides together. And we're replacing this corner with this opposite fabric. So it's going to turn out like this. Okay? Same thing here. Right sides together. And then we sew corner on the 2.5 inch square, corner to corner. And then we take the other block, the other color, and the same thing here. Corner to corner. Guys, we're almost done. We're getting there. Alright, back to the sewing. And again, I apologize about the moving the camera around so much. But this is real time, quilt as you go, quilt along. So we're just sewing corner to corner. Use your seam tape or your eyeball. And you can chain piece it. Right here. Uh-oh, this one's going to be off. Ah, that one's going to be way wonky. Way wonky. Sorry, folks. And that one is too. Alright, so now I cut my fabric. Or I'm sorry, cut the thread, not cut the fabric. Cut the thread. There we go. And then when we open this up, you can see now we've just replaced that corner with this color. Okay. Now all of mine are going to be wonky because I did it to, oh, this one is actually perfect. But these are going to be a little bit wonky because I did it really fast. And I wasn't really paying attention a whole lot. So, again, just open this up, cut a 1/4 inch, and then iron. Iron that open, okay? So, open that up, cut a 1/4 inch, open it up, and iron. You guys get the gist. You don't have to scissor, you can rotary cut. Alright. Iron that open. Press it open. Get rid of these little triangles. Now, of course, you can sew these together and create half-square triangles, super teeny tiny half-square triangles to go in your crumb block. Or you can, I'm spending too much time on this right now, or you can just keep these as, you know, crumb triangles and use them as is in something else down the road. Okay, set those aside. Alright. Now, these are pressed open. Now, mine are, like I said, this one's wonky. I knew this was going to be really wonky, this one. So I need to trim that for sure. Now, if you have a triangle trimmer, or a lock block, if you have a lock block trimmer, that is fantastic. Otherwise, just take your square and trim those up. So I'm going to go over to my cutting board and just take the corner of my square and trim it up. Now this one is perfect. I don't need to do that unless, is it? Just a teeny tiny bit. Now that shred, of course, you know, I'm always thinking about the future. That shred is going to add to my Shreds crumb quilt. or my shred crumb block. See, it created a shred. That's how much I had to trim off. Not a whole lot, right? So there's that. This block. Just a teeny tiny bit too. Not a whole lot. almost not even worth it. It's almost not even worth it, guys. It's so minute. Okay. Now this one's a real problem. This one, yeah. That one's a problem. Okay. Real time, cool as you go. Now you have these triangles. Okay? And add those to these triangles. Let's take you down again to the surface. So you want to add these triangles to these triangles. See how that creates that? Okay. And that, if you look back at the diagram, that is this block right here. You might not be able to see it, but that is this block right here. So that is this fabric. So this, I have the purple, and this is a black background. And then this stripe and this corner. So that is these four blocks, okay? So you add that to that, that to that, and there you go. Okay, so that's what we're going to do with these. So color on one side and make sure they're all the same, just like so, okay? Those are all the same. So you just take it over to the machine. And again, if you are starting with a triangle, then start with a leader. Start with your leader so that your fabric, this point, does not get sucked down into the machine. Okay, so let's spin that around. I know this is a long video, guys. We are actually almost done. So this star block is coming together very, very quickly. Okay, so you just want to line up this corner to corner, line up this edge, and then 1/4 inch seam allowance. You can pin it if you want to. I'm not pinning it. And I'm just going to chain piece. So take each triangle and do the same thing. Just corner to corner, line up the long edge. There we go. And again, it's a bias, so be careful. So corner to corner, line up the long edge. And last one. Guys, mine are looking really wonky. I hope yours are more square than mine. Okay, and now you can cut your thread, cut these apart, and then cut off the leader if you used it. And then when you open these up, now you've created that one block that I showed you in the diagram. And that's that, okay? That is super. That's how you want it. That's what it should look like. All right, now, press those open. You can't even see. Press. Hey, I'm not using steam. I'm just using a dry iron, but you can use steam if you like. Okay, so they all look like this now. All right, super. Now we have these blocks, and remember we made these blocks in the beginning, and then we have our middle block. This is the middle block right here. Great, so now we have that. So now guess what? Guess what? We're almost done. We have created our 9 patches. So we have created 9 patches. Now if you want to, you can get, really fussy and you can trim off these, what they're called, dog ears or whatever you want to call these little extra triangles. You can trim those off so it's a little bit more square, right? Feel free to do that if that helps you. So you can do that, square that up. And you can actually square up all the blocks. And I would highly recommend squaring up all the blocks to the same dimension so that all the blocks line up perfectly in your 9 patch. And then we're putting this together right now. So let's see, we're at 41 minutes. Ooh, that's long. Okay, sorry about that. But like I said, this is quilt along, quilt as you go. So we're doing this all together right now in real time. So let's take this over to the board right here. Set that aside. Now we're gonna here we go. Okay. We're gonna set this up. So here's these squares we just made. Set those aside. Here's the center piece. So put your center down. Now, if you made a diagram like I did, you're gonna follow along on this. Okay. So I'm just gonna set that aside right there. So put your 9 patch down. Now, if you numbered these or lettered these, then you'll know how to put these down. But I didn't. I just did like different swirlies and zigzags. So it actually doesn't really matter. But I know the purple goes here. So let's do. This may take a while. Let me figure this out, okay? Oh, no, wait. These go like this. Wait, is this the same? This is opposite color. I think that's opposite color. Okay. So I think that goes like that. And then we have... Let me think about this. You guys see that? Alright, let me read my thingy here just to make sure this is right. This doesn't look right at all. Okay. Ah, there we go. That's right. So that goes like that. And then this goes like this. And then this goes like that. And that goes like that. Okay. Alright, we got it. I finally got it. Alright, this is how it should look. That's right. That's it right there, guys. See it up in the diagram? You can see that a little bit in the diagram. And the patch. That's it. So that's our 9 patch right there. Okay? So I'm just going to pull this apart. You can see the 9 patch. Whoops! I'm sorry about the camera shake. The 9 patches right there. Okay? Now we're just going to sew these together, sew these together, sew these together, and then we're going to sew the rows together. And that's how we're going to do it. So take the top row, here's the top row, line it up, and again you can cut off those dog ears if that helps you. And of course if you were smart, you squared up all your squares. And then sew 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you can also chain piece if you like. I'm not going to chain piece. Mine is going to be super wonky. I'm already telling you right now. Super wonky. Because I'm not lining anything up and I'm not squaring up anything. So that's going to be to my detriment right now. Don't let that happen. Okay. So you can tell right now that did not line up. That point and that point should line up. They should be, and that's off. You know what? If that's so far off and that's not lined up, I am going to rip that out and I'm going to start over. Ugh, I don't really want to. But you know what? It's late and that's what I get for rushing and it being super late at night. So, and for perfection. So those 3 things there. Aha, perfection. I mean, at least a little bit more accurate. Not perfection, but a little bit more accurate. But you can see how I just ripped that out. And then I rip that off. And then with this piece, I can, like, quote, erase the threads. And then resew that. So if I want to, I can make sure I line up these two. Line up these 2 lines right here, this and this. Line those up. And if you ironed opposite, they should lock in. Now, I did not. I ironed it the same way. So, again, that's to my detriment. But, you know, that's how that goes. So, let's try this again. Okay, that's a little bit better, a little bit better. It's not perfect. You know what? I'm just going to iron this and be done. I am going to trim off this dog ear. Okay, so that's my top piece right there. Take that back. Now here's my middle piece. I'm going to sew these. And again, you want to try to line up this line and this line. And you want to try to line up this line and this line. Okay? There we go. Yep, and because I did not square my blocks and everything is wonky, this is definitely going to be off. And I am just going to have to be okay with that. Actually, that's not too bad. Well, I know this is so squeaky, I'm sorry. It is pretty squeaky. Okay, so line those up. And that is the middle part, and those lined up pretty good. I did lose the corner on this one. You don't want to lose that corner. You can use steam if you like. Steam, the water kind of relaxes the fabric, so you can iron that in place. But you can see it didn't do so bad there. Oh, it's super horrible, right? Okay. Now the last row, bottom row. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna press this with steam. Okay. Bottom row, put these together. Try to nest this part and this part. So again, 1/4 inch seam allowance. Open that up, put this part on. Uh-oh. I just confused myself. Wait a minute. Yeah, this goes up here. Put that on there. Turn it around to sew it. Now there's nothing to line up. There's nothing to seam, to nest here. So you just have to line up the edges, and that's where your, what's it called? Squaring up of the blocks of the little squares came in handy. Quarter inch seam allowance. Sew that down. This is the last row. Open that up. Check it out. Pretty good. And iron it. And again, you can use steam here to help relax the fabric so that the fabric lays a little bit easier to one side. Okay. Alright, now that's the bottom. I'm going to push this camera back. That's the bottom. Here's the center. And here's the top. Alright. That's fantastic, folks. Check that out. Great. We're getting a lot closer. Now we're going to sew this together, and then we're going to sew this together. Okay? So here we go. Now this is super wonky. Now if you wanted to, you can line up your, square up your rows if you need to. And I should, because mine is super wonky. Super stretched out and wonky. But I'm just going to create a straight line. Try. Alright. There's that. Open that up. And there we go there. Make sure there's no holes. I tug at it to make sure no holes develop. And then you can iron it if you like. Iron it open. And then sew this part on. And we're almost done, folks. We are almost done. It is super late for me recording this. Now these should nest in here. Mine are a little bit off. But I knew that from the beginning. So Yep, we're good. 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we've now created our 9-patch block. All right. Hey folks, there it is. There's our 9-patch. There's our entwined star. That's it. Okay, take it over to your press and press it out. And we did it. This is our 9 entwined star, 9-patch entwined star. Don't you love it? I just love it. All right, and there we are. There's our 9. I keep saying 9-patch. Entwined star, entwined star. I love it. I love it, guys. I love it. Thanks for showing along today. Yep, I love it. Thanks for showing along with our April 2023 Sew a Year Full of Stars, Quilt Along, Quilt As You Go. Entwined Star for April, Star Block of the Month. Our second Star Block of the Month for April. All right, enjoy. Happy creating, happy sewing, happy quilting. Create your quilt sandwich. I'm not going to create another video for that because you know how to do that. Put your backing on and your batting in between your flimsy. Create your quilt sandwich. Quilt the top of this however you like, and then add that to your stash. Do not trim up just yet. Add it to your add it to all the other blocks that we've created so far, and then I'll see you for May. All right. Thank you for showing along. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.